You stop beside the perfect car, but your eyes drift past it. But the corner stays louder than polish, so you keep moving. But when your hand hovers there, the dull roof feels strangely warm. Then the corner catches you, where the Volvo waits under tired light. When your boot scrapes concrete, the dusty coupe almost seems to flinch. Then the long scratch catches light, and you follow it anyway. Its paint looks sunburned, and a key glints nearby like a warning. Then warm light catches faded oxblood paint, and the roof drinks it. For a second, your fingertips read years better than your eyes. You should stay with the crowd, but your feet keep choosing this corner. For a second, that long rear quarter scratch feels like a warning. Because inside, the cracked tan seat looks used, not abandoned. For a second, the long scratch feels warmer than all that polish, but the tiny front fender dent softens it because damage this small survived. So the gas smell and leather pull you closer than reason. When you lean inside, the cracked seat seems to exhale around you. After you stop beside it, the metal ticks softly under cooling air. When the door gives, the worn pedals answer before anything else. By the time your thumb finds that smooth wheel spot, you trust it. By the time you reach for the handle, gas smell finds you. After all that silence, the soft ticking metal makes you hesitate. After a soft metal tick, the glove box loosens and something waits inside. So your hand hovers there, and something inside asks for the key. By the time you reach in, something waiting there already matters. But when your palm meets the roof, the chalky paint gives back. Then your fingers find the glove box latch almost before you decide. But under the papers, your thumb catches a brittle corner someone kept. Then the tiny dent near the fender feels warm. Almost embarrassingly familiar, but a small stack of papers slides out like it was waiting. Then the grease on its fold makes the car feel worked for, because the old sticker shadow still clings there. Someone once claimed it. For a second you stop breathing, because a tiny key polished wheel spot was earned slowly. You hesitate to claim it, so your finger follows the long scratch like reading a private sentence. Then the car stops feeling abandoned and starts feeling like a trust. For a second, your boot meets the worn pedal, and memory pushes back. For a second, the cracked seat and worn pedals seem to recognize you. When you glance up, even the old window stain feels intentionally kept. When the gas smell lifts, you know closeness will cost clean certainty. When the small key appears in the seat crease, your pulse answers. After that, your hand reads the long scratch like a private sentence. By the time you trace that long scratch, it feels strangely defended. By the time you open the glove box, the paperwork feels strangely too intimate. By the time the metal ticks, you swear it answers your touch. After the soft metal tick, you look up like it answered you. After that first folded page shifts, you hesitate, because now this matters. So you lower the key slowly, and something else waits to open. So when your fingers close on the key, then the doorway clears the glove box latch, and the dust feels protected. But when the glove box loosens, something brittle slides like it remembers you. But the glove box papers smell faintly damp, like something rescued too late. Inside, the old papers are stacked carefully, but not like someone forgot. Then your fingers find papers gone, soft at the corners from years. Then you notice one corner burnt brown, because heat once reached inside. Because one corner carries grease, you picture hands checking it after driving. Because of the stale gas and ring mark, this stopped midlife. For a second, that small scorch makes the car feel breakable. For a second, you think how much money a smooth repaint would silence. So the key in your palm starts feeling heavier than simple permission. But the key sits warm in your palm, so someone kept choosing it. So the key in your palm starts feeling heavier than simple possession. For a second, the worn pedal edges match habits your own body knows. When you press the clutch, the worn edge answers with another life. When that sink into the cracked seat, you pull back. It fits you without pretending. Always asks something. After that, the perfect car outside seems expensive, but suddenly untested. After your hand finds that smooth spot, another driver's habit meets yours. But the long scratch catches lamplight, and suddenly retreat feels dishonest. By the time you glance back, this scarred Volvo feels dangerously like trust. By the time the metal ticks again, you're already leaning toward what happens next. By the time the metal ticks again, your hand is reaching back. And when the metal ticks again, you realize it might ask more. But you step back, because trusting it this much suddenly feels naive. But you drift toward the doorway, because caring suddenly feels harder now. You almost step away now, because caring this much suddenly feels foolish. Then the polished room cools again, so your shoulder almost turns fully away. Then your hand finds the switch, but you do not flip it. Behind you, the polished lights still glitter, but they do not ask anything. For a second, a pale paper edge catches under the glove box lid. For a second, the cooling metal then ticks, one paper and slips it sounds forward. Almost impatient, and you stop before the glove box can close. When you pull it free, the dust lifts like something held breath. When you look back, the glove box is still open by a finger. The fold is softened by years, just like the wheel at 10 o'clock. By the time you see the dates, the worn pedals stop feeling abandoned. So you pull the papers straighter, and their edges repeat the years. For a second, you see it. Someone kept reaching back over and over. Because none of this wear says forgotten. It says someone kept choosing tomorrow. By the time you see the ring mark, the wheel explains it. So the scratches stop feeling abandoned and start feeling faithfully carried. So the long scratch becomes a receipt for survival, not evidence against beauty. After all this, the shine is not vanity, but one faithful habit. By the time you look up, the car feels less owned than entrusted. After that, the key feels heavier, and your thumb finally starts to move. And when your fingers reach the key, something in you finally answers. When your fingers find the key again, for a second, you still have not decided that polished spot like a promise kept. At the doorway, the idling engine asks whether love means fixing or keeping. For a second, you just listen, because the ticking sounds almost relieved now. But the hood looks truest when you stop asking it to look new. But your thumb finds that polished wheel patch, and the answer warms. But your hand stays on the key, wondering what care would erase. Then the key waits there, because choices sound different once metal answers. For a second, you picture fresh paint sealing every bruise into silence. Then the long scratch catches light, and suddenly it feels like handwriting. When you imagine fixing everything, you finally feel what fixing would erase. Then the cracked seat creaks softly, because truth always sounds slightly lived in. Because if you smooth everything flat, you lose the proof it stayed. So even the old papers feel heavier, as if they vote for memory. When you lift the paperwork, you set it back beneath dust, so your thumb finds that polished spot where another life held on. After that, you slide them
your
back
hand
gently,
leaves the key,
like returning something still alive,
and reaches for the shifter.
By the time you breathe out, the answer is simple. Keep every mark. By the time you breathe in, you know you will preserve the scars. By the time the garage light shrinks behind you, the choice feels tender. When you ease forward, you choose driving its truth instead of repainting it. But before the engine answers, the road ahead feels like a witness. After one slow breath, you let its scars keep talking into night. And after all that looking,